YouTube, Arrow is back. So this is going to be my episode 16 video, just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. Always love when Cupid's around off her meds. Unmedicated Cupid is the best version of Cupid. So because there are really just like a couple big things going on in this episode, I'm going to do top 5 WTF. I'll explain the Easter eggs as we go along. There were a couple Easter eggs. Let's start with number 5, the trial of Damien Darhk. Kind of reminds me of the trial of the Punisher that's happening on Daredevil right now. So just careful for spoilers for Daredevil real quick. You've probably seen this episode, but Mark Guggenheim, showrunner for Arrow, used to be a lawyer before he became a writer. So he's either worked on legal-based shows about lawyers, or written things like that into a lot of his episodes across the years. One of the comics that he wrote was a Punisher story about the Punisher being put on trial. That's part of Daredevil Season 2. If you haven't watched it, you should check it out. It's really cool. But what a coincidence that the same week that Daredevil does a story that Mark Guggenheim wrote about a big comic book character being put on trial, Arrow also does an episode where they put a big villain on trial. But the people that wrote this episode are actually 2 production interns, I think, or production assistants. So surprisingly, it was actually a pretty tight episode. Some of the dialogue didn't work for me, like Aaron Ryder had some really cheesy dialogue in the flashbacks. But otherwise, despite the fact that it was written by 2 really inexperienced writers, I felt like it was a pretty decent episode. In the way they explain it, this trial is going to carry across the next couple of episodes. Damien Darhk is going to be in prison until the trial. So a little while ago, they posted a teaser with Merlin visiting Damien Darhk in prison. Like, we'll just see that over the next couple of episodes. Episode 19 is supposed to be a big WTF, so I don't know if that's going to happen before the trial or after the trial. It might happen before, because usually when a big villain is going on trial, somebody dies before that trial happens so that they aren't there to give testimony. Mark Guggenheim did say that Laurel was going to try to prosecute Damien Darhk. We'll see how that plays out. There are a number of different things that they've teased that might prevent that. Stray observations though. Damien Darhk's attorney looks a lot like the attorney that represented the drug dealers in The Wire. Mark Guggenheim is a big Wire fan, so you would not be wrong in drawing some parallels from The Wire to Arrow. Arrow Season 1 is actually a good example of DC TV doing their version of The Wire. But number 4 WTF, Cupid is back. She has been discharged from the Suicide Squad, so it's not like they're after her. She's served her tour of duty, so they've released her back into society. But the way the producers explain it, that because of being spurned by the Arrow, her experience with Oliver and that unrequited love, and the death of Deadshot, she's just been completely twisted, so she's killing newlyweds. Number 3 WTF. The idol that Baron Ryder is going for in the secret cave is the same idol that Damien Darhk was using in present day that they smashed in an earlier episode. Total Raiders of the Lost Ark moment. I was waiting for him to make Oliver take it off the stand, but it turns out that you have to kill someone to power it. It's powered by people's life force. So my first thought was Full Metal Alchemist and using a blood rune, like drawing a blood rune, so that you could reach the gate. But I don't really think Arrow was going for that. But it is fun to think there might be a few writers on the Arrow staff that are Full Metal fans. Number 2 WTF, the fake Elicity wedding. So I'm sure a lot of you that are big fans of them being together probably cried a little bit. Oliver's vows were the vows that he wrote for the wedding he thought they were going to have. Felicity's she just wrote on the spot, and it was all about, light and dark, love being light, and it really did sound like pure fan fiction, which is why if you did roll your eyes into the back of your head, you should fix them, because she explains later that it was all bullshit. She's like, that doesn't apply to us. She was just saying that in the moment, but maybe like a little part of her actually believes it. The way they explain it at the end of the episode and the stuff that's going on with Damien Darhk's trial, I feel, are really big foreshadowing for what's going to happen at the end of the season. We know someone is going to die. I feel like Felicity's just going to go away. Like, she'll still work with Team Arrow. She's just not going to stand right next to Oliver all the time. But when someone on the team dies, that is going to bring her back. Like, that'll bring them back together and catalyze the group. But for the next couple of episodes, it's just going to be like the way she explained at the end of the episode. I can't be right here next to you all the time. So some of you have asked me if they killed Elicity, and it depends on what you consider that to be. Like, Oliver is still going to care about her, so you could say that it's still alive. But usually when I use the term Elicity, I'm talking about their actual physical relationship. Whether they're going out, they're engaged, they're getting married. That is not a thing right now. But if you're one of the many very divisive people on it, that doesn't mean that it won't be happening in the future. If you remember, they let Lois get married to Clark on Smallville, but when did that wedding actually happen? In one of the very last episodes of the series. So while I am very happy that nobody's getting married right now, because Felicity's speech does a really good job of explaining why they can't get married, and she's not taking crazy pills like Cupid or anything like that. living the life of a hero, there's always going to be some situation where he'll be forced to do something that will go against their relationship. So Felicity's choice is the choice of reason. But it's one of those things where, in order to stay interesting, you still need sexual tension. So when they get together and they're all lovey-dovey, that kind of goes away. There isn't really tension anymore. Now that they're apart, you'll get more of that season 1, season 2 vibe where they care about each other, like she said that she loves him, but they're not actually together. But the number one WTF is that this whole case against Damien Darhk rests on Laurel and Quentin. And of all the people to end in the grave, it's really coming back to them. Even if you've looked at the spoilers from the set, there are things that make it seem like a certain character might end up dying. There was so much loaded dialogue in this episode, like Quentin saying, "I might be putting a match to my career," that just makes me feel like someone's gonna get burned to death. Like the character on Team Arrow that ends up dying will end up burning to death, and that's why they won't be able to come back, because there'll be a pile of ashes. But you guys, let me know in the comments, just based on the things the people said, the dialogue in this episode, especially during the trial, who do you think is going to end up in the grave? Just remember that there are going to be a couple more episodes before that person does die. So you just have to pay very close attention to the things that people say for the next couple of weeks. But real quick reminder, there's a new round of the DC giveaway happening right now. It's 2 IMAX gift certificates to Batman v Superman. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I'm going to do a trailer video for The Flash. I'll announce the winner whenever I post that. That'll probably be on Friday. But actually, I almost forgot, Markovia, the city that they mentioned that this Damien Darhk or Bender person is from. I thought it was hilarious that they called him Bender. Markovia is a place that they've used on Arrow before as a fictional Eastern Bloc country where villains come from. It's kind of like a different version of Corto Maltese. Corto Maltese is just like a port of call for villains in the DC universe. So that's just a name drop for a place in the comics and a place that they've used in the past on Arrow. While you guys wait for my next video to post, you can click here for last night's episode of The Flash if you haven't seen it yet, and you can click here for my last Daredevil video I just posted. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.